Hello, Denise Ramond. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
Good. And I already said I love you to Eric. He's doing great. I understand.
He says yes, and he says, I love you, Mama. He says, I love
Oh,
you. The way he says that. It's like, and like I said before, it's like he can't say it enough.
yeah, that's sweet. And me
Yeah.
neither. I say it all throughout the day, while I'm doing my work, especially. All right, we are going to have part two of gematria and numerology. All
Okay.
right. It's a little complicated. I don't really know that much about this, but
I don't
which
either.
collective implemented this system, and is it a control system to let people play out their archetypes? Now, what are they talking about? They're talking about like life path numbers, and all that stuff. I like to call it the matrix. You are bound to those numbers in a way, your friendships, your life path, the work you do. Is that true?
Eric says not 100%,
Yeah.
because he says you got free will in there. It's like it's a guideline or, like this is where you can go. But he says you can always change the course on that. And he says, it's like this is it's like a blueprint that can be changed.
Oh, okay.
Now, some things are definitely for you in this lifetime, but not it's not 100% where all of it is like you can't change it, you can't do anything, because he says that would eliminate free will, and we have free
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Linked to numerology is a system known as psychomatrix. I know a lot of people, some of my family, who belong to that matrix. No, I'm just kidding. Psychomatrix. It is a square, three times three, with nine numbers equally distributed in that square based on your birthday. What is that all about?
Eric says it's just another formula, another formula for that's for you, but he says,
Look it up
um,
while you talk.
but he says it's not like the only one. It's just another formula um, for you to get some guidance and some
Oops.
direction and see what's going on and stuff. And he says, and again, you can always go in there and adjust it, because there's always room for each
Interesting.
one in there.
But they talk about the psychomatrix of cells and everything. It's really interesting. Let
Yeah.
me see. Here you can calculate the square of Pythagoras values online based on the date of the birth of either person or event. The Pythagoras square and psychomatrix in numerology allow you to create a detailed psychological portrait of a person, learn all of your innate qualities expressed in figures and inscribed in a certain way in the square of nine cells. Oh, that's what they're talking about, cells. I thought bodily cells. Interesting. So you guys can actually look that up. Pythagoras, Pythagoras square cycle matrix, all one word, by your birth date. Interesting. I'm gonna try that.
That is like way over my head, the
Oh,
math
mine
part.
too. There's so many
Uh,
different aspects to numerology I'm getting.
there is.
Um,
It's Eric keeps saying it's infinite. It's never ending. It just can
yeah.
go on and on, because it's he's showing me like earlier he was showing me how like how before there's a thought, he says, there's already like a sacred geometry type thing
Uh-huh.
already for whatever it is that, and then you connect to that thought. And so you're thinking of an orange and I'm thinking of an orange. Your formula for you and your orange is different from my formula for my orange.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Well, everything's math. The language of the universe is math. So, how do these things come up? I mean, maybe the Chinese developed one, and these people developed the other, etc. Are they channeled to people, to groups, collectives, individuals, for that matter?
Well, he said in the very, very beginning, I feel like he's talking thousands, hundreds of thousands a year ago. It's like something that we all innately knew, it wasn't
Oh,
but over time, how things got carved away for us not to know things. but there's always people around who he said, yes, they did channel, and they knew, because it's just a knowing within them, because you can't keep the lid on us. And when he says that, like our consciousness, you might be able to squash this for a little bit, but you can't keep us there. And he says, and then there's that one who just has fun doing this, so they go on and do it, and then it's like it spreads, and then people start going, oh, because they can prove certain things, or show certain things. And but it's not just one place on it. It's like he showed me, like each continent has their own formula, so to speak, but it's all goes together.
So you're saying, Erik, that this has galactic / alien roots?
Oh, definitely, he says.
Oh,
definitely. Oh, definitely.
Okay, is someone's life path number changeable during his or her life? I think we answered that one. I don't think so.
Erik said no. Erik says no. He says,
Okay.
if you're a 9, you're a 9. And then,
Okay.
but yeah.
Excellent. All right. Doesn't matter when it comes to number sequences, how they aligned 1, 2, 3 versus 2, 1, 3 versus 3, 1, 2, etc.
Erik says, yes, there is. Yeah.
So the order means different, means different things.
He said yes, because the frequency of those numbers, and stuff,
Yeah, because the frequency of 312 is different than 123.
Yeah, he said, so there's the vibration of it. He says, even when somebody says it, he goes, like somebody says, he goes like $1,000, and then another one says $1,000,000. There's a frequency shift in there, how each one says it. So he said, yes. He goes, it doesn't mean one's better than the other.
No, but it seems like there's probably a frequency for the individual 1 and the 2 and the 3, but also as a collective of the 1, 2, 3, or the 3, 2, 1, etc.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Since numerology and our birth charts go hand in hand, do we have the same astrological sign in each lifetime? I can't imagine.
Astrological sign?
Astrological, like not horoscope, but yeah. Astrology.
Erik says in each lifetime they're the same. Is that what you just
How could
said?
that be? Because you're born at different times. Yeah,
because Erik says no. He said no. It's
okay.
No. He says you might carry the same shit over. That's Erik's words, over from one previous life to another.
Yeah.
But no, he said no.
Okay. Seeing that 8 represents infinity written in vertical, does it, does being born on the 8th of the month mean anything special? Or can you say anything about the number 8, Erik?
Well, he says, 8, signifies the affinity sign, he's telling me, it's not that who's born in the 8th month is more special or more whatever than the person born in the 12th month or the 1st month or whatever. But how would he say, if it resonates with you, there's something special about that, a consistency of 8s or whatever. He says, then let that be, go with that, he says. But
okay.
But there's something significant, he says, with every month there is. He says, okay. But you have to remember, there was a time when we didn't have months.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So he said, so it's not about that. They did things very different way back when, like thousands,
yeah.
hundreds. So he said, yeah, we kind of put labels on things, that one's more significant than the other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tarot fool, the fool card, I guess, is 0. Does 0 have any significance here?
Well, he says the 0 represents there's no end, like the number 8.
Circle. Yeah.
He says there's no beginning and there's no separation.
Okay. So that separation is an illusion.
Well, he said, of course.
Yeah. Anything else about 0?
Well, he says zero, or the circle represents, it does represent like unity,
Oh, yeah.
togetherness. He's saying, of course, we're all connected, what he's showing me. He says, and it's really, in some ways, though, too, sometimes it can be a neutral number because it can go, you can go either way with zero, because he says, there's nothing is ever really zero.
Yeah.
Which I think it is, but he says I'm incorrect.
Interesting.
And the math that I do, everything goes to zero.
Yeah, of course, you're an accountant. That's right. CPA,
Yeah.
rather. What are master number? What? I don't know if this is true. Why are master number people late bloomers?
Well, he says because they have a truckload of stuff that they have to filter out, sort through and stuff like that. And they're very strong-willed, so they have a tendency to drag their feet. Mm-hmm. And he says, and the stuff that they're given information to, or they have a knowing, they develop into stuff, it takes somebody with he says they have to be like very mature. And I don't mean like a mature 20-year-old. I'm talking about a mature, like an elder is what he says.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to do that, because it requires you to do things that a lot of other people don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Is numerology in a 9-year cycle? And does it correspond with our planets?
Erik says, yes, it does correspond with our planets. And is numerology, you said, in number 9, you said?
In like a 9-year cycle? Are there 9 planets? I think there are.
He's not giving me that there's a 9-year cycle.
Is there a cycle to it?
He said there's a cycle, but I don't get that it's a number 9. It's
okay.
He's not saying what, but I'm not getting a number 9.
Okay. I don't even understand what it means to have numerology in a cycle. What happens at the end of that cycle? Does numerology change its meaning for each number? Or I don't even know, but we won't go there.
Okay.
Why do numerologists say that only master numbers 11 and 22 exist on life path numbers, but 44, 55, and 66 and onwards aren't ready here yet? Aren't already here yet? Maybe aren't ready here yet. I don't know what that means.
So only the master numbers. Would you say
first
11?
Like 11 and 22, but the upper ones like 44, 55, and 66. How are they different? I'll just ask that. Than the 11s and the 22s.
Well, Erik says, he says not all masters here are 11 and 22s.
Okay. Yeah.
He says that's not true.
All right.
And the other ones, there's a lot more people here that are, if you want to put on it a master number, that are here that aren't 11 and 22s. And the 45 and the other ones, what about them?
44, 55, 66. I guess this person's asking what is their significance compared to the 11 and 22s as masters, if any.
Erik said there isn't any. There really isn't
okay.
any, yeah.
Okay. How does spirit angelic communication with numerology help us to understand their messages? I guess they speak in the universal language of math, numbers.
Well, they do, yeah. And it catches our attention.
Yeah.
And
that's true. Like 11:11, before Erik even died, I kept looking at the clock. It was 11:11. Then I Googled it. It's the 11:11 phenomena. So yeah, angels telling you you're on the right track or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's to get your attention. So it's like, like get you away from what you were. It's like, and it's validation and confirmation and that. And he says he goes, and that's one way how they can really get your attention.
It must have been really difficult for them before the digital clocks, where it was all analog clocks,
Yeah, but Erik said, but they had other ways to get your attention too. He
Yeah.
says through billboard signs, license plates,
Yeah.
just he says just there was a lot of ways, the change you got back or something like that. There was a
Yeah.
way.
Interesting. If master numbers denote higher vibration and having challenging lives, then why isn't Erik an angel one of them? I don't know. Maybe he is. Does that mean old souls are able to take on lower life path numbers, like 1 to 5, while they're still on a higher vibration, and vice versa?
Well, he says I'm not. That's what he
Yeah,
says.
I don't know. I mean,
He
I've never.
says,
Somebody figured out Erik's number. I can't remember. But it seemed like he wasn't master number. I can't remember. I know
but
there's
that's
a
when.
lot of threes in his thing. 333, 33, etc.
Well, he says they were basing it on when I was here,
Okay.
and that's when I was here. But he says who I am now, I am still that part, but then I'm more than that. He says so that kind of, because when I come back, he says, which I will probably one day, or go somewhere else,
Yeah.
I'll have a different numerology or whatever. But
Yeah.
he's saying, when we think other numbers have a lower frequency or whatever, he says that's our ego getting in the way,
Oh yeah,
labeling
it
it
could
as
be.
that.
I'm
And
gonna
he
be looking up
says,
his.
that there
Go
are
ahead.
more master people here than what people even know, but we're
Wow.
still trying to define them, like label them. Okay, I'm one, they're not one, she's one, he's not one, or something. And he says, there's many master numbers, if you want to call it that, that follow channeling Erik.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
he's saying that there's, you know, not all master numbers. He's telling me in some lifetimes they might have, like, say, a number 5 or something. That doesn't mean that they're not a master as these people are labeling them, but they may have had 300 hellacious previous lifetimes and now they're relaxing in
Yeah.
them.
Okay, so that's interesting. Oopsie, I'm doing a little calculator here. Okay, so how does numerology and astrology work hand in hand, especially if someone who has had opposite characteristics between numerology and astrology? I mean, won't that be confusing? Like life path 1 and Pisces. Life path 1 is leader, while Pisces isn't really. Interesting question.
He says, they work hand in hand together. And he says, astrology is a guideline. It helps
Yeah,
you to understand why some of the ways you are or whatever. And he's saying, like, for me, I'm an Aquarius, and I always wonder why I was so different, odd, or whatever. And they say, we're odd or whatever.
yeah,
And so it kind of helped me with that. And I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. So it kind of like, okay, that's why I'm that way. But
yeah.
he says numerology, he says they really help blend things together, because then you can see where your, if you want to call them your weaknesses, or where your strengths are not in your astrology. You
Mm-hmm.
can see where you're in your numerology, where your strengths are. And he says you'll notice how sometimes your strengths in your numerology kind of help with your weaknesses, if you want to call it that, in
Oh,
your when your astrology. And because he says they kind of line up, so it kind of like helps offset it. He goes, you're not just a Pisces, you're so much more than that. And that's
yeah,
just helping you with that, and helps you to understand when the moon is here or the sun is there or whatever it is. It can help you to get a better understanding of yourself when you feel a little off, with whatever's going on in the planets, the stars, or whatever. And then your numerology will come in, and you'll be able to see your strengths to help you with the weaknesses. He's given me a diagram. When he showed me this, so this is why
yeah.
I'm doing all this way. So he said, so it's not a weakness that you have.
Yeah, no,
The
You're right. There's so many different parts of us, strong ones and less strong. And sometimes it's not always necessary. Sometimes you're leaders in some cases and you're not in others. And it's best to be that way. So yeah, I get it. I was trying to look up a clicked on this master number calculator. It didn't work. It took me to, you need a faster connection speed. It was just a trick. Is your street address also affected by numerology? That's cool.
Erik said yes. He says, you may think you just randomly picked a house to move into, but you didn't just random get that address, you know. And it's funny that question is there because when I go walk in the morning, I'm looking at the addresses and I don't know, I just get these feelings about things as I'm walking and I think about my address and stuff. And of course I'm adding them up and doing all that stuff.
I do that all the time. When I look at the clock, 4:30 in the morning, okay, 4 + 3 + 6, and then I come up with a number and say, well, I don't know what that means.
I do too. But Erik says there is something with that. And he says in some cultures, they really are real choosy about the address where they live, the direction of that, where the front of the house sits, the back of the house sits, and all of this stuff, you know. And so he says there is something to it.
Well, I know that my husband picked his racing number 36 based on numerology. I can't remember
cool.
what it came to, but so far so good, except for that one traumatic brain injury.
I remember that.
He wasn't wearing his helmet that had the 36 on it. That's why. Okay, this is a cool question. What about animals? Are they affected by numerology?
Erik said, of course.
Really?
Erik said, of course, because he said because everything is energy, and you know there's math in energy, and of course, you know, but they don't go around saying it's not the same like you know, if they're a Pisces, and I'm using Pisces because of the last person. They don't go by, well, I'm a Pisces, so I'm this, or this, you know. But it's Erik says it's like when you get animals or whatever, it's like it's all lined up for you. The numbers, how it is. He shows me how everything lines up for you to get that particular animal.
Oh. Well, so when we have a like Bella, if I were to calculate her, I would use her birthday. Would I use Bella Medus or just Bella when you put that in calculator fields?
Erik says, you know, you can use. He says you could use just Bella or Bella Medus. He says you know, no, but I feel like the order of her birth, which I would assume she's only one or two, being
Bella?
Bella, because her mother couldn't have had too many, could she?
Oh, the birth order. Oh, no, I can't imagine.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like she's either one
birth
or
order,
two.
that's right.
Yeah. So and Erik says, you know, it was already divinely set up for Bella to come into your home before you got her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're glad. Now, does changing your name, which will most likely change the number, does it bring you into the vibration of a new number? Whether you do so by marriage or by or just changing it, like my sister changed her name when she was very young.
Well, I have several aliases, so so not because I was married a lot, but I won't even get into that. But Erik says there you go by your birth name, he said, because there's a reason why those names are being because you know, he says it's like painting the inside of your house. You can paint it all these different colors, but the outside is still the same color or the same color brick or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a difference.
So what about if you've had your married name much longer than you had your birth name, do you eventually settle into the vibration of the new numerology for the new name, new vibration?
He says he's showing me it's like he says for some, yes, he said, because it's like you kind of settle into that last name, like that is who you are, is
okay
for you, with your last name. And
okay.
he says, so you don't really identify as with your maiden name like you do your married name. And so he says he said yes, there is a shift in that, he's telling me. Yeah.
All right, what is the luckiest number, and is there a way we can calculate our lucky number? Because I bet you it's different for different people, right?
Erik says yes, it's different for different people, and it can change throughout someone's lifetime.
Oh, okay.
And I'm glad that he said that, because for me, number 13 was always a lucky number for me, but now not that it isn't lucky or whatever, but number 11 is really prominent in my life right now.
Interesting. So it's just something we intuit what our lucky number is.
Yeah, and he says there's a vibration with the number, so you're drawn to that.
Okay.
So then that what makes it, for lack of better ways of me being able to put it, that makes it lucky for you. So every time you see a number 11, it's something signifies for you, and it
So
just,
maybe your vibration is aligned with that number, and that alignment between you and number aligns with the universe to bring in good stuff.
Erik says yes, and it's also too who's giving you that number 11.
Okay.
Because there may be, like your higher self bringing that in for you. It could be your guides or whatever, or a loved one from the other side that's bringing you those numbers. So it just depends, and
Weather alert. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's Galveston.
That's me.
Yeah. It's a riptide, I think.
Oh,
all right.
Lord.
So, what is the meaning of, and why did they talk about the 144,000? I never heard of that.
Well, way back when, in my early 20s, I read Revelations. And so they mentioned something in there about the 144 souls, like only 144,000 will go cross over or whatever. But Erik says, he says, we all transition over.
Yeah.
So, and you look in the city of Houston where we live, there's more than 144,000 people. So
yeah.
So
you better get in line early.
But
it says that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that exactly 144,000 faithful Christians from the Pentecost of 33 AD until the present day will be resurrected to heaven as a mortal spirit begins to spend eternity with God in Christ. Anointed by God. I can't imagine.
Erik says, and that's true for them. That's true for them, is what he says.
True for them is fine.
But all right.
So you better not be the 144,001 first Jehovah Witness, or you're in deep doggy doo-doo. Ooh, baby. All right, what about Jesus and Moses, the 40 days and 40 nights, that kind of thing?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I was laughing about Moses and the 40 days and 40 nights.
And Jesus.
What is about that, the 40 days and 40 nights?
Any significance to the meaning of the 40 days and 40 nights in the Bible?
Erik says yes, there is, but not so much as how that book presents it. They were on a journey, is what he says. Like Jesus was on a journey, in solitude or whatever, but it wasn't exactly the way they talk about it in the Bible, he says. Okay. And he also talks about Moses and that, and the 40 days. And I'm asking him, what was the 40 days for? He said something about a flood. Was it about the flood?
It must have been the rain.
Okay.
40 days before not the rain. Okay.
Because so he said that it was like a metaphor, is what it was.
Okay.
And so that's more like what it was. And
Okay.
he says you got to remember how things were chopped up a bit by the time the book came to us.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. Heavily redacted and edited.
Yes, yes, yes.
If someone is in a year 9, should they refrain from starting something new, or should they wait until it goes to a year 1, like of a marriage maybe, or birth or whatever, or a business? Is there any truth to that?
Erik says there is truth to that for some people, but that doesn't. It's about checking in with you to see, like, if you're going to start a new business or thinking about having another kid in the year 9 or whatever. It's about checking to see where you are with all of this.
So there's nothing really special about.
No, he says no. For some people it is special,
Okay.
but not for everyone. And you can't use a hard rule that this is it for everybody.
Yeah, of course not. All right. Why is the number pi so important?
He says because it's infinite. You can't. It keeps going. You can't. It's infinite, is what he says.
Okay. Why is that important?
Because there's no end.
Well, why is that important? That's not like a kid saying because why? Because why?
There's no end to us. There's no end.
Oh, okay. It signifies that we're eternal beings.
Yeah. There's no end.
Cool. Only got 3 more questions. What can numerology truly teach us?
Erik says, it's that we're in alignment more than what we think we are for some of us.
Oh.
And it also helps us to understand, okay, well, I'm in this period, this lull period, this low period. Yeah. It's going to pass or whatever, just to know, like, this is more your rest period. It's not a bad period. And he says, and then for some, it's like, some of it is to let you know, like, not to work so hard, like you're trying to pull a car with a rope. Stop pulling the car with the rope. Like, let's
life balance is so important.
Yeah, he says it's like you can see things, and where you can less struggle with things.
Yeah, we got eternity, people. Don't do the laundry today. It's okay. You can do that in the next lifetime. All right. You can turn, your underwear inside out and your shirts. Okay. All right. Could you please try to reach the spirit? No, we don't have time to channel this. But William Delbert Gann, Gann. He was a very famous trader who used numerology and vibrations to forecast the stock market. Is that the case? Was he able to truly do that?
Yeah, Erik says yeah.
Wow.
Because he was able to. Erik says he was brilliant in math, brilliant, and so he was able to see a rhythm with it, how things would go. And he would use this math that,
like a calculation, an
equation? Yes, but it's like way out there, math. Well, he says it's not way out there for a lot of people, but it was out there, but he was able, but he observed the patterns.
Interesting.
And see how things. And Erik says, and some people, even in places where they have casinos, gambling, they use this kind of stuff to know when to pull out, when to go in, and all this other stuff. Yeah.
So are there people that use that for stock market forecasting now? Probably.
Erik says, yes, there are. Yes. Okay. Yeah. People that know when to. He said, there's some very successful people that do this. And even some people that, the average Joe or Jane who do the stock market just for themselves, they feel the rhythm. He says they feel the rhythm with things.
Cool. Now, this is the last one. Nikola Tesla is alleged to have stated, quote, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. What does that mean exactly? I mean, that is pretty cool.
Well,
and it goes back to that cycle matrix thing too, in a way. The threes.
Well, Erik is telling me, you know, the 369. He says it's almost like there's a rhythm with what they can go into. I guess what they can multiply into, divide into,
Yeah.
and even more. And there's a rhythm with it. And they are pretty powerful numbers because they can be multiplied or divide into many things. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, 9 times 9 is 81, and 8 plus 1 is 9. And that could be divided by 3. I mean, yeah, it really seems like a very flexible number.
Are they prime numbers? He keeps saying prime numbers.
Yeah, prime numbers.
That's what he's saying.
3. Well, 6 isn't, but 9.
Yeah, I didn't think
9 is just 3 is a prime number. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when he said prime numbers. I'm like, but maybe that prime number can go into all of those or whatever. Why he's saying it, but
is there a significance of behind prime numbers, Erik?
He says yes and no. He says it's almost like he's saying like a prime number, like that's as broken down as it can get.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then you have
a solid. 1 is the loneliest number. That's Sesame Street. Okay.
Erik says the prime number is kind of like, it's a solid number because it's just that number that you can use into other things.
It's alone. Strong. What about the difference between odd and even numbers? And I promise that's the last, unless Erik wants to add something.
Well, he says they're both good. He says it just depends with people, what the person likes. Some people like even, some people like odd. It really, if you resonate with even, then those are the numbers you should use.
I do. I mean, I don't like being 67 because it's odd. But then I'm not so sure if I'm going to be crazy about being 69 either. That's not a good number.
Well, see, when you said 67, I go 13, and then you add that together as 4, and then break that down into 2.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how
I
my
wouldn't know
mind
what
thinks.
to make of that. All right. I guess that's it then. Thank you, Denise Ramon at deniseramon.com, which of course will be in the description box. Love you, Denise. I love you, Erik. I love all of you guys out there. Be sure you share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Thank you, Erik. Erik says he loves you too. Much love to you, Lisa. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.